that it's going to be okay as long as I stay in the Word and keep trying to move forward. That I don't fret and I don't worry and I don't have fear of the future. And for me, success is being able to accomplish and achieve your purpose and your goals. And you got to know your purpose. And I know my purpose is to try to love everybody and help them have a better life. And so that's my answer to you about success but it's about being thankful. And that's why in all of my correspondence, some people said, well, Steve, that's not real proper sometimes that you say respectfully or sincerely when you write a big letter to somebody. I always just say thanks, because my life's built around thanks for what the Lord's done for me, putting me in touch with you, giving me the opportunity to be here right now doing this message to returning citizens that you and I just want so desperately that they'll come back and restore their lives to a life that they really want. It's good.
But Steve, success is in the eye of the beholder, right? You have to decide what your success. I think one of the problems that we have in life is that we want to put our success on other people. One of the things for me that was actually pretty rough is that my daughter, it's not my youngest daughter, it's my middle daughter. I wanted her to be successful in my eye. And she was a good student. She was a really good student. And we've talked about this before. I remember one time she came to me because we were talking about this show. There was a show out there called 13 Reasons Why. And in 13 Reasons Why, it was about a young girl who ended up committing suicide. And then she left all these tapes and they were listening to the tapes. And I was like, well, I just don't understand why she would kill herself, blah, blah, blah. I'm talking. And my daughter said, Dad, how sometimes people just make you feel terrible about yourself. They don't see who you are and what you're all about. They just drag you down. And I'm a dad. I was like, who did that to you? Who made you feel that way? And she said, you did, Dad. And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? She said, I remember this time where, I brought my report card in and I had like 100, a 98, a 97, a 98, and a 92. And what you said to me was, what happened here? Now, what I said was, hey, babe, you did really, really well. I think you're amazing. What can I do to help get that 92 up to the 98s and the 100s that you have? What she heard was, you're not smart enough. You're not good enough. You're not working hard enough. She said, you remember when I wanted to go hang out with my girlfriends? We were going to go to Myrtle Beach, and you were like, no, you don't know them people. What's going on? And I was asking you, do these people smoke and drink and do drugs or do that stuff? She said, what? You made me feel like I was a skank or a whore or just an alcoholic. And I was like, that's not what I meant. What I meant was, I love you. I don't want anything to happen to you. I want to protect you. So what I was saying was not what she was hearing. And I wanted her to be this prissy Miss Pollyanna, Miss Christian girl wearing the long dress like Little House on the Prairie. And my success was the way I saw it, not what she wanted. And I didn't get it. So sometimes people put success on you. So whatever you define success as is your success, but work towards it. As long as you don't take anything or hurt other people, that's what your success is, Steve. And so, but I think you got to have a target to aim at. So if you define what your success is and work towards that, and whether you succeed at first or fail at first, it doesn't matter. Just keep going towards your success. And I want to speak directly to somebody. I hope somebody's hearing me. That's a returning citizen. What you did to this point does not matter. You can turn it around. You cannot change your past, but you can change your direction. So find out and decide what success looks like to you. What is it that will make you successful? What will make you receive your purpose, and go towards that. And with God's help, you'll get there. Now, God's help and your work, you'll get there.
Lefford, can I ask you a quick question on what you just said?
Yes, sir.
Will you clarify one thing? Just make a statement on this. There's a lot of people who are moving toward their goal and can be incredibly successful. And if their goal is something like, I want to be the best bank robber in the world, they can set that as their goal. They can become successful at it. But I'm not sure that's the I mean, that's the definition of success. But
No, that could be somebody's definition of success, but is success something that you do not hurt or take away from somebody else? It's an appropriate goal that is relevant. I mean, like you said, you could be the best crackhead in the world, but is that a relevant goal for somebody? So but I hope people get me, and I appreciate you saying that, because there's some people that think, so long as I win, that's success. But if you win by taking from somebody else, there was another saying in my favorite book that talks about what good is it for a man or woman to achieve the world, but to lose their soul.
Good answer, Lefford. I'm going to accept that as a double thumb.
It's not. You can get a lot and not be successful, but success is getting the right things without hurting other people in that thing. It's not what you get at the end of the day, Steve. I think it's what you become. And when you can look back on your life and say, this is who I am. And I am is a very powerful, who am I? I am. So who are you at the end of the day?
Success is a journey.
Relationships matter. You are the combined average of the 5 people that you hang around with most. So as you transition from where you are to where you want to be, find those 4 or 5 people that you're with that is going to inspire you, lift you up, grow. And again, it doesn't have to be somebody that you look at every day. Books, podcasts, radio, the Right Thinking Foundation, Designing Your Empower Year, books, the Bible, whatever it takes for you to wrap yourself around people that are going to support you and lift you up, but not pull you down. And this is the deal. We all know who we should and shouldn't be hanging around with. I believe all of us have the right spirit and the right knowledge to know this is the right place to be and not the wrong place to be. Now, it's not always easy. But just because it's hard doesn't mean we can't do it. Les Brown says, it's hard, so let's do it hard. Don't do the wrong thing, do the right thing, and we know what that is. So that's philosophy, that's relationship. The next thing out there, because both of those are good, but they're not enough. Because we all know somebody that's very relational, got a great philosophy, they're really cool people, but they're not really competent, that they can't do a job well, and that's not helpful either. I learned this lesson. There's 2 things about this lesson that I think I need to say, and I'm going to go and talk about my wife for a minute, just in case she hears this. I need some brownie points, right? So we were doing this thing called a key spouses group. I was the senior enlisted guy on the base, and she was the key spouse coordinator. So what she did was she brought all the spouses of the military member together, and we just talked about ways that they could be successful. She had gone through a lot of struggles with me in our marriage and us traveling and the kids and me deployed and in Korea and all these places. So she had to keep the fires burning when I was away doing the nation's business. So she has a lot to say. So there was this one lady in the crowd that asked my wife a question. And she said, Mrs. Fate, does the chief make you happy? Without a pause, Jody was like, nope. Yeah, I was like, what? And she said, I like, explain to these people what you mean, babe. And she said, 6 months after our marriage, I recognized that Lefford Fate could never make me happy. Steve, have you ever asked somebody to explain something? And then when they started explaining something, you wish that they would have never explained it? I was like, hey, what you talking? So, and she fixed it. Before this goes from bad to worse, she fixed it. She said, when we got married, Lefford had been divorced. He didn't have a whole bunch of money. We left my home in England with my whole family. He brought me to the States. She grew up in this little fishing village in England, and I brought her to Tampa, Florida. She didn't speak she was English, but English and American language is basically two countries divided by common language. She didn't speak it well. She couldn't work. She couldn't drive. She didn't understand the money, and she was miserable doing that transition. And we were fighting and arguing and all this, and we weren't getting along very well as a family. And what she says was, he was never ever able to make me happy until I decided to be happy. And when she made that choice to be happy, she was the person that says, I'm the only one that can do this. Then we became very, very happy together. So the equipping thing is what we learned through that process. And one of the things we learned is there's 3 parts to equipping I think is very important, Steve. Listen, learn, and lead. And it doesn't matter if you're coming out of incarceration or if you're coming out of the military, whether you're going from high school to college or whatever, you got to listen, you got to learn, and then you'll be able to lead. And we'll talk about lead towards the end, but I want you to keep that as a major thing. Listen, when you get out, there are going to be people that are going to be able to help you transition properly that got your best interest at hand. Listen, the lay of the land is different. The way the world goes now, 1 year, 3 year, 5 years, it is not the same as it was a year ago. Look at what's happened in the last year, Steve. There's so many things that's changed. So you got to listen to your environment, figure it out, right? You got to learn everything you can. What is it going to take me to be successful in this environment? Who are the right people I need to be around? What are the jobs? What are the bad places that I need to avoid? What do I need to learn before you get out, during the transition, and after you get there? And then lead. And as you lead yourself first, because you are the person that can make the decision. No matter what your circumstance, you can make the choice to do what you need to do. So now let's talk a little bit about attitude. And the whole thing about attitude to me is to be a thermostat, not a thermometer. Now, Steve, just real quick, you gave me that quizzical look. What do you think the difference between a thermostat and a thermometer is?
Well, a thermostat's where you set the temperature that you want it to be, and a thermometer tells you what the temperature is.
Exactly. And that's the deal for the whole transition. When you get in the prison system that you're in right now, and when it's time for you to get out, if you are a thermometer in that environment, whatever's going on in that situation, that's what's going to stick on you. That's what's going to happen. So if it's really hot, you're going to be really hot. If it's really cold, you're going to be really cold. If people are doing crazy, wild things there, if you're a thermometer, you're going to get caught up and do those same things, right? So, but if you're a thermostat, you can actually set your own temperature. You can decide where you're going and what you're going to be doing, right? Get your mind right. If your mind is right, then you can survive any storm. I learned this lesson when I was in Florida. I'd gone through a lot of things, and I was doing stuff right for a change. And we didn't talk a lot about some of the issues that I had in the military where I was struggling. When I lost my mother, I started going sideways and I started getting a lot of trouble. I was an angry person. It was the best of times, Steve, and it was the worst of times. And it was the best of times because my son was born. On March 18th, my son was born. But on March 4th, my mother died. And the people I was hanging around with, it was kind of silly because some of the people were telling me, well, you should be happier. You got a son, at the same time that I was struggling with my mom's death. But then there were other people telling me that I should be sadder because, your mom died and you're trying to be happy. So I was confused to just getting into all this stuff. But I had turned it around and I started doing well because I had surrounded myself with people. I had John Gunther was another mentor of mine that helped me go in the right direction. So I started doing all these good things. And I got a call from my career field manager who wanted me to move to another state. And I got to be honest with you, when they asked me to move, I wasn't happy. I was stationed in Tampa, Florida, greatest city in the world, in my opinion. When I die and go to heaven, I'm going to ask God to let me go back to Tampa on the weekends. That's how much I love Tampa, Florida. It was amazing. But they were sending me to New Mexico. And New Mexico is nice for some people, but it wasn't for me. It wasn't for me. So I had this bit of an attitude, and it was a negative attitude. And everybody around me were feeling this little funk that I was doing. And because I was actually being a thermometer, I was letting the situation affect me. I wasn't letting me inside affect the world. I was letting the world affect me. But I ran into this guy who taught me, he said, go find somebody that's bigger, better, brighter, and smarter than you. And you determine your attitude, because your attitude is a choice. But your attitude will also determine your altitude. You've been around people that are negative and not very nice, Steve. How did they make you feel?
Well, yeah, you don't want to be around them for too much because they're going to try to bring you down.
Yeah, they will suck. They don't even have to say anything. They're sucking the energy out of you. Their energy